What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I just got back from the metal supply store and Home Depot, and as you guys can probably tell from the thumbnail today, we're going to be building an engine stand. So basically, from measuring the engines that I have from bikes here at the house, I pretty much came together with a plan that should fit pretty much all dirt bike engines from like 85 cc's all the way up to your 450 bikes. So this is going to be a pretty much as step-by-step tutorial as I can for you guys on how to build one of these stands for yourself. And I'm going to try and provide for you guys as many tool options as I can, kind of ranging from cheap to a little bit more expensive, kind of depending on what your price range is and what you guys already have. So I'll kind of have that laid out for you throughout the project. Alright guys, well, I'm going to head inside, bring all the metal in, and I'll meet you in there and we'll talk about what you guys need to order up. Alright guys, well, here is everything that I picked up at the metal supply store. So I did get a really good deal on all this stuff just because I tried to stick to the scrap pile. If you guys have a local metal store, definitely stick to the scrap pile because all of this ended up being $10.99, which is a really good price. And while I was out, I also went by Home Depot and picked up a couple threaded rod pieces here. This is what's actually going to hold the engine onto the engine stand, and then I'll put a nut on there to hold the engine in place. And then I also picked up all the hardware I'm going to need here. So if you guys could get a bolt kit for this, you'd probably save some money, but I had to get it individually. So that really added to the price. And then I also had to get some threaded rod here, which was a lot longer than what I actually needed. So if you can plan ahead and kind of find somewhere to save some money, you probably could on this. But all of this came out to $40. So if you want to go down below to the description, I'll have everything I ordered laid out for you guys. Alright, and here's a basic write-up of the design I had before I went to the store, just so I know what to get. So I'll kind of go over everything on this picture and show you what it matches up with. So that bottom piece there is going to be what this 2x1 tubing's for, as well as the legs. And then these outer side pieces are all going to be the 1x1. So most of it's going to be made out of this 1x1 tubing. And then the arm here is just going to be made out of the flat bar steel here. I'm going to cut and bend this to make the arm. So more on that later. And the circular piece here, this is what's going to allow you to actually decide what position you want the engine in as you rotate it around. So that's going to be cut out of this 3/16 thick flat piece here. Alright guys, well, now that you know most of the main stuff and how this engine stand kind of goes together, I'm going to bring all this stuff upstairs. We're going to get it cut and all ready to get welded together. And to cut this all up here, you guys could use a chop saw like this. This will make it a lot easier, but if you don't have one, you can use an angle grinder like this with a cutting disc. This will still work, but on tubing, it's going to be a lot easier to just have the chop saw coming down and making sure everything's cutting straight. But totally up to you guys on what you have. They both will work. Alright, and to cut, we're going to start with the 2x1 rectangular tubing. So this is the orange stuff on the diagram here. So we're going to start with B, the two legs on the engine stand, and those are both going to be 12 inches a piece. And then I'll come back and I'll cut A, and that's the bottom of the frame there, and that's going to be 24 inches. Alright, now we can move on to the 1x1 tubing. So this is anything that's that green turquoise color. And so C, the two outer posts we're going to start with, those are both 12 inches. And then we'll move on to E, which is the inner upper posts, and those are both 9.5 inches. And then the arm, the little arm F on the left side is going to be 3 inches. And then the bottom piece D is going to be 20.5 inches. If you guys are having trouble seeing any of this or understanding it, I do have this picture that I could send you guys on Instagram if you want to shoot me a DM, or I'll have my email down below. And I also have all the exact cut specifications that I can send you guys as well if you just like to have a paper copy. Alright, next up we have the arm piece here. So this is our purple arm that reaches up from the right side and it's going to come over and attach to the engine. So this is going to be kind of hard to explain because we're going to be doing some bending and welding this together to kind of give it that look that it has in the picture there. So basically I'm going to cut two 4-inch pieces, one 5-inch piece, and then one 1-inch piece, and I'll explain what I'm going to be doing with these pieces later on. And now it's time to cut out the circular piece that's actually going to allow us to decide what position we want the engine stand to be in. So to do this, I'm going to use a 4-inch Milwaukee hole saw. I'm going to start off using this with the hand drill, see if it'll work. But most likely, if it doesn't, I'll have to go to the drill press. And doing this by hand didn't work too well, so I actually had to run out to the drill press real quick. But it did cut out pretty good. One thing to note when you're using these is it does take a little bit of material around the edges. But this is still going to work perfect. Alright, and we got pretty much everything cut out here, so we're all ready to go to start lining these up and welding, except we do need to clean these edges off. So you can see after it comes out of the chop saw, they do come out pretty rough, so I'll clean those up. And then I'm also going to remove some of the rust, because some of these pieces have some rust since they were from the scrap pile, as you can see here. So before I weld it, I want to get this rust off as well. Alright, and I'll show you guys a few options what you can use to get the rust off and clean the edges. So the first and probably cheapest is just an angled die grinder that I picked up at Harbor Freight. These run around $20. The only issue with these is you do need a pretty powerful compressor to keep them going. Mine's just on the edge of that, so I kind of have to stop and go a little bit. So I'm not going to use it, but this thing does work great and it's never burned up on me. Another thing you could use is this orbital sander here. This one's a Husky, so it's a little bit more expensive than a Harbor Freight one. But the Harbor Freight one would probably work fine. This wouldn't be too great for cleaning off the edges, but this would get the rust off. But I'm not going to use this for the same reason as the die grinder. And then your best option for cleaning up the edges is going to be an angle grinder. I really like this Milwaukee one. The only thing with this one is it's a battery, so it's easy to carry around, but you do have to have some batteries, which are expensive. But you can get one that has just a cord plug-in, and I would recommend that if you're trying to stay on a budget. But these things with the flap disc, they last forever, and this will clean up the edges real nice. And then the last thing I would use to get the rust off, I'll probably use this. This is an Eastwood contouring set here, and this will work great for getting that rust off, as I'll show you guys outside. It's basically just a big Scotch-Brite wheel that you carry around. But anyways, I'm going to go get this cleaned up and get back to you guys on how it worked out. So the reason why I'm using this Eastwood contouring disc here instead of the angle grinder is just because it's not as aggressive and it leaves a lot smoother of a finish. So I prefer to use this over that angle grinder, just because the angle grinder is tough to get an even finish on some things. It does like to take off a good amount of material, so you got to be careful. Okay guys, so the angle grinder and the Eastwood tool did an awesome job of getting everything cleaned up and ready to weld. So what I'm going to be doing here is tacking everything together, just corner by corner, making sure everything's as square as possible, and then get everything all together, make sure my design works correctly, and then I'll tear it back down and weld it up the rest of the way. So what I'm using to weld everything together is this little Lincoln 140 HD welder that I picked up. These things run, you can get them used for around $300-400, so they're not super expensive, but they do lay down really nice welds. Alright, I'm going to start tacking the outer frame together, and what I'm using are these magnets here, and these really help each piece hold in their 90-degree position and keep everything in place for me to tack it together. And if any of you guys are wondering why I'm MIG welding here as opposed to TIG welding, yes, the TIG welds would look a lot prettier on here, but the MIG welds are just going to be so much quicker and allow me to get way more work done on this project in a shorter amount of time. So that's what I'm going to be going with on here, and they should still come out pretty clean. Alright, now that I got both the inner and outer frame all tacked together, I can go ahead and drill this hole right here. So this is 1/2 inch down and then right in the middle of the tubing. and this is going to be our bolt that's going to attach the outer frame to the inner frame. So this bolt is around 9.8 millimeters, so we're going to want to drill this out just around 10 millimeters. So that's a 7/16 inch drill bit that we're going to use to drill this out. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off with a 1/4 inch drill bit and work my way up to the 7/16. And before I actually start drilling, I'm going to put a nice punch mark right in the middle here to have a spot for the drill bit to seat. So this is pretty easy. You just pop it right into place and give it a hit with the hammer, and then this will prevent the drill bit from wandering. And you can see I'm drilling these out by hand just because I wanted to do this the way you guys would probably do this if you don't have a drill press. And then the next step is just going to be to get both these inner and outer frame lined up together and then put one big drill hole through both sides of them. Just so we know everything's going to line up the way it should. Alright, and now I have all the holes marked on the circular piece and our inner frame to get drilled out to make this engine stand adjustable and to fit multiple engines and engine positions. So I'm going to go get these drilled off camera just because I just showed you guys how to drill them out, and I'll check back in a couple minutes. Okay guys, well I got the holes all drilled out here, and then also on this piece I drilled them out. These holes are 7/16 of an inch. These holes are 5/16 of an inch. These holes are 3/8. What I did is I did a 3/8 hole, two 3/8 hole right next to each other, and then I smoothed it out in the middle with a Dremel tool to kind of give it more space, just in case it's a little bit off when you're selecting your position for the engine to sit at, just in case you have some wiggle room there. Alright, now I'm going to put this circle piece onto here. Just going to get it lined up right in the center, and then I want one of these to be in the center because that'll be the base spot, or one of the spots that we start at. So we'll just line it up right here. Then I'll go ahead and tack weld it on. Alrighty guys, so I got it tacked on, 2 in the front and then 2 in the back here as you saw, and this should be enough to hold it now. And now I'm going to drill out this hole. Basically I want this hole to be 3/8 like the other holes are, just so because the bolt needs to go through this as well. Alright guys, now that we got the circle piece all cut, we're back on the bigger main frame here. So what we're going to be doing right now is actually marking the legs to go ahead and put them on. So what we're going to do to mark them is these should be around 1 foot exactly. It would be 5.5 inches in on each side. And then another mark at 6.5. Alright, so now I have the bases secured with magnets, making sure everything's as square as possible here, and we're just going to tack them together. Okay, so we got these 2 tacked, and now I'm going to move to the other side and tack both of those. Alright, and now that we got our outer frame all secured on legs, I'm going to go ahead and put in the inner frame here. So we're going to fit the inner frame into the outer frame and put the bolts in, and what I'm going to do is measure the distance between each side, and then that'll tell me how big the spacers each need to be. Okay guys, so I'm going to measure the space between the plate here and this on both sides. And then I'm going to cut out a little spacer out of some tubing, and that'll go right in between here to make sure these stay even with each other. Like on this side, we're getting around 14.2. Alright, and then on this side, since we don't have that plate, we're getting around 17.1 millimeters. Alright, so here we have the tubing. You can see the ends are a little bit uneven, so I'm going to put it through the saw, chop it once, and then cut out my 14 and then my 17 millimeter pieces here. Okay, and now I have all the spacers cut and installed. I put them on here and they seem to be spacing out perfectly on both sides. So we got the measurements good, and this inner frame rotates awesome on the outer frame, so everything's functioning there. Just the next step's going to be to go ahead and take this rod here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole through the side of the outer frame here, 3/8 of an inch, and this is going to allow the rod to slide through and then lock us in position. So as we rotate this around, we'll be able to lock the engine in certain positions that we want to work on it in. Alright guys, so I got the line right here all ready to go for drilling. How I did that is basically I put the pen through our circle piece here, and I ran it up against the front and then marked it where that where this hole lines up in the front, and then continued that line around to the back. Alright guys, well we got drilled all the way through, and then this is basically how it's going to work. So this rod here slides through and locks into one of the holes we drilled on the circular piece. So right here, this is kind of our base setting. It does have a little bit of an angle. I actually wasn't planning for that like a ton, but actually the more that I think about it, it's probably good because it'll kind of keep the engine on here. It won't want to slide off or anything. So then when you want to adjust it, you can move it wherever you want it and then lock it in. Obviously this isn't going to be this long, but lock it where you want to work on your engine at. Alright guys, so I got this inserted, and now what I'm going to do is just mark where I need to cut it at. So I'm going to put this on here because I'm going to be attaching a couple pieces of this as a handle. So I'm going to mark just so I have enough space to get this guy attached on. That's where I should cut it. Alright guys, well we got everything cut out here that we needed to get cut out, so I'm going to go ahead and put the bigger rod in, make sure it fits, and then I'll tack the two smaller ones on here. I cut both of these smaller ones to 1 1/4 inches. Alright, so we got both of these tacked into place, and it worked really well. I'm probably going to grind this down just so it looks cleaner later on, but yeah, it works great. You can just pop it out, pop it in wherever you need it. Alright, so now that we have the function of the frames down, the next thing we need to do is obviously make somewhere for the engine to mount up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one spot where the threaded rod that's going to come out of here for the engine to slide onto, and then I'm going to need to take an arm from down here and reach it up about similar height to this, and have another rod coming out of that for the engine to mount up to. So basically my idea for this was just to take 2 4-inch pieces like this, and then I'm gonna take about 1 inch and kind of bend them together in the middle, and then I'll put this and we'll weld this to it, and then this will reach up. I am gonna shave about 1 inch off the top of this and weld it on the side just to give an L shape, so we do get a little bit closer to this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay guys, so I got some sheet metal pliers here, and I'm just going to be bending these out probably about 45 degrees, but I'm going to start trying to go about 30, see where that gets us. Alright, now we got it all bent down here, so I'm going to go up and make sure that's the right angle, and then we'll go from there. And everything looked good with the angle, so I'm going to go ahead and clean up our other 2 pieces and get them ready to weld together. Alright, now I'm going to give it a quick tack to keep it in place, and then I'll finish up by welding both sides of these all the way through, and then I'm going to grind it down so it looks flush and even to make it look like they were one piece. Alright guys, I got the arm positioned the best I can here, as even as possible. I wanted it to be super even with this line, so it's going to be on the same plane as our other rod over there. But I'm going to go ahead and put a couple tacks into it to hold it in place. Alright, so I got it all set up here to drill. I did this, I'm going to drill the hole about 1/2 inch up and in the center of, or as close to the center as possible of this piece here. So basically when I'm going to be drilling it, it's probably going to want to flex on me. So I'm going to put 1-inch tubing in here, which is what it's going to actually fit around on the piece. So 1-inch tubing will work great, and then I'll just clamp this all down. And now this feels really secure on here, so I'm going to leave it like this and go ahead and drill it out to a 5/16 hole. I'm going to start off with 3/16 and work my way up, kind of like I have been doing. Now what I'm doing is just making this a little bit more rounded off and giving it a nice line feel to not have it so edged off. Maybe make it fit in there a little bit better and look better, and then I'll grind it down to my Sharpie line with the angle grinder here. Okay guys, so you can see I marked it here where I want to drill it. I didn't choose that for any particular reason, just seemed like a center point there. And then this threaded rod I measured comes out to about 7.8 millimeters, and then your 5/16 drill bit is going to be right around 8 millimeters. So that's going to be enough clearance for the threaded rod to go in. I'm just going to do the same as I did previously on those other holes. Start with the 3/16 and then follow up with this 5/16 here. Okay guys, we're gonna go ahead and install this, make sure everything's working correctly with it. Okay guys, now that we've verified this is all working on here and looks good, we still need to cut this, but I'll be cutting this. I don't want to put the saw up here just for a second until I get this one all ready to cut and verify it works. So we got to drill this one out here, I believe to just over a 1/2 inch, or actually just a 1/2 inch. This is just under a 1/2 inch, and then we'll be able to put this in, and then we're good to take everything back down and weld it up all the way. Alright guys, well this threaded rod fits in here perfectly, so we're all ready to get everything torn down and weld it all up. This is going to be the fun part, and then we'll throw a nice coat of paint on here, get everything looking pretty, and put the engine in it and see how everything works. So yeah, let's get to welding. Alright, well now that everything's welded up and ready for paint, I have them hung up inside. It was getting dark outside, so I moved them in. But you can see I have the outer frame and the arm on one setup, and then the inner frame on the other setup. That's just because I'm going to paint them different colors. What I use to get them all cleaned up though is this Eastwood pre-painting prep. This stuff works awesome, and it gets off all the little dirt that you didn't even know was on there. So definitely recommend checking this stuff out. I'll have it down in the description with the other supplies that I usually use. Alright guys, I'm going to get these painted up real quick and then call it a night, come out in the morning and see how everything came out. But I'm going to start off with a primer here, and then I'll hit it with a gray on one side and then a gloss white for the inner frame. So I'll have both of these colors down in the description for you guys to check out if you guys like them. Alright guys, well it is the next day, and I moved these outside just so they would dry a little bit quicker, but the paint on them seems to be dried up all the way, so I'm really liking this gray. came out super nice on here, and then it'll contrast pretty good with the white. I just didn't want to go with anything super flashy, as I said, just because didn't want this to overstand the engine. The highlight's supposed to be the engine when it's on the stand, but it came out great. So I'm just gonna throw everything together, and then I'll show you guys how the engine mounts up, and we can check it out. Okay guys, well the stand is all set up here, and I think it looks really cool with the engine on there. I am going to throw some stickers on the stand later, but for now it came out awesome. The only thing I didn't show was actually cutting this threaded rod here, so I just took the measurement and added 2 inches to it, so just to make sure I'd have some extra rod just in case I get a bigger engine on there or something like that. But other than that, yeah, this thing came out awesome. So if you guys are interested about building one of these on your own, I hope you enjoyed the video. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss more new content.